Hey everybody, Zach Beller YGO back with another deck profile. It's been a while since I've done one, so I figured I'd show you all a Snake Eye deck I played at my regional yesterday. If you've noticed, I've been gone a little bit lately, or for quite a while now. I've been really sick, and then it's the spring, so my allergies are kicking in, so I haven't really had a voice. But we're back, we're trying to get that content going again. And also, I'm preparing for YCS Raleigh, which I should be going to, which is going to be really fantastic. I won a VIP qualifier, so if you are there, make sure to come up and say hi. That'd be great. But let's just jump into the deck that I played yesterday. It is a Snake Eye deck. However, the approach to the deck itself is different, especially games 2 and 3, but also how it's being played is different, and I'll explain that as I go. It's hard to explain. It doesn't look that different, but when you really dive into like the deep theory behind it, it'll make a lot of sense. As for how I did, I got 30th place, which is a little bit of a bummer. Wish I would have done better, but invites were top 52, so I guess I got my invite again. I went X2, I went 6-2. We were one person short of 9 rounds. We had 255 people. If we had 256, we would have had a 9th round. So I went 6-2. And my matchups for the day, it's very easy to remember. I had 7 Snake Eye Mirror matches, and then I played against 1 Trap Tricks. Of those 7 Snake Eye Mirror matches, I won 5 of them. And the only 2 that I lost were to 2 people who also took a different approach. One of them was using Shunping's Parallel Exceed Flame Banshee version, which is really good, and I hadn't actually played against it before, so that was very interesting. My hand in game 3 was pretty weak, and he managed to break through the small bit of setup I had. And then I played against Centurion Engine Snake Eye, which was really cool. Again, game 3, it just kind of fell apart, which is a shame, but that's all right. Every other matchup was pretty easy, and the standard Snake Eye deck, with like just the standard lines, could not keep up with what I was testing yesterday, because I was testing some stuff for Raleigh and just in general, so I thought I'd show everybody the theory that I'd kind of come up with. So we'll go through the deck first, and then I'll explain stuff as I go, of course. As always, if you want to pick up any of these cards, use the affiliate link found in the description below. And if you have any comments or anything, just let me know down below as well. So first up, you of course have your 3 Ash, 2 Poplar, 1 Oak, 2 Flamberge, 1 Divine Temple, and 3 Bonfire. That's very standard for the actual Snake Eye portion of the deck. There was a consideration for Birch. And initially, I was actually playing Birch just as a search target for Ash, because I found that I wanted the additional extender pretty often. And also made it so that way opening up with just Poplar could still end on a decent board. But I ended up cutting it for other stuff that ended up being way better. So that was the Snake Eye part. Then for the Diabell Star package, you have your 3 Diabell Star, 3 Wanted, and 1 Original. I guess I should have thrown this in there too. 1 1-for-1. I don't think I need to explain 1-for-1. Actually, this card was the worst performing card of the day, and I never wanted it in my deck. I initially had this as Monster Reborn, and I wish I'd kept it that way. Just something to consider. Mostly because like the level 1s in this deck aren't quite as important as in like the standard deck, even though like the ashes and stuff obviously matter. There's a you make a switch from how you're approaching the game later on. So the Wanted engine's pretty straightforward. Don't think I need to explain that. That's it for like the core engine. So you've got 20 core engine cards, and then for there's 5 cards in the deck that didn't really have a specific role, so I counted them both as effective engine and non-engine. And that was the 3 main decked Kashtira Fenrirs, and then 1 Magnamut, 1 Druisworm. So this was an interesting idea that had been been chewing on for a while. I liked it a lot. The Magnamut and Druisworm were cards that I have sided in the mirror match because of the importance of Link Karibo and IP Masquerena, as everybody knows. But having them in the main deck is very good because it gives you 2 more disruptions as well as 2 more extenders. But also, there's this weird setup, or like the mirror match especially gets to a point where just being able to stick anything on the field can be enough. And so having extenders that are also defensive cards that have giant bodies is often enough to get you the game. So a lot of games will, turn into a grind game, and then suddenly just having 5 or 8 monsters instead of just your usual 3 that are really large is very important. And that came up a lot. But also Fenrir in the main deck, it's very hard to play against for Peer. They will just panic because you can force out so many interactions. And I'll go through actually an example of that. In one of my mirror matches, I special summoned Fenrir to lead, activated Fenrir's effect, and they activated Imperm, and I chained enemy controller, which I'm also maining, took their monster, and then just proceeded to go off, and the Fenrir gained more value because he gave me a free discard as well. Also, just even into rogue matchups, obviously Fenrir is really good, but it's just one of those cards that this deck has so many cards with cards like Fenrir in it that if they resolve, require an answer immediately. And I really like that because I think that turns the game into a tempo-based game, where you're basically just going, I'm going to continue making these pushes, and I'm just going to stick something on the field, and something is better than nothing. So if you take out the Fenrirs and the Bystials, you have your 12 cards that require an answer in your D-Bell Star package, the Ashes, and the Bonfires. But then if you include the Fenrirs and the Bystials in there, which are, again, just big monsters that require an answer, now you go up to 17, which gives you an over 94% chance to open up with at least one card that requires an answer. And that often, again, is really good and is able just to get you into a winning position. Then for the rest of the 9 engine, I played 3 Ash. I really don't like hand traps this format, even though like it's a hand trap format, and I'll go into that more. So I limited my hand traps to ones that just slow the game down enough to where my basic cards like the Fenrirs, the Bystials, the D-Bell Stars can really just punish having fewer cards. So 3 Ash, 3 Valor, 2 Mourner. This was something Yassine, which shout out to Yassine. He was very helpful. Yassine was pretty adamant on the power of was Mourner, just as additional copies of Valor and Imperm, and Mourner was pretty good. It being a level 3 tuner was also very, very valuable, and came up a decent amount. And then the last hand trap I played was the 3 Imperm. So yeah, there's 11 hand traps. And then I played 3 Triple Tactics Talent. This card has been overperforming lately because, again, we're in a hand trap heavy format, so it just gets additional value. And then 2 Enemy Controller in the main. This card is insane. It helped me break so many boards going second, which, again, I lost most of my die rolls, so it was very good. And going first, even, it's really good because it lets you stop them from fully breaking your board. This is a card I would highly consider. It was especially good in the mirror match. It's not good into Voiceless Voice, unfortunately, but I didn't play any of that, which was impressive. So that was the main deck. It was 41 cards. So there's, again, a world where you could just take out the 1-for-1 and go to a perfect 40. But the difference between 40 and 41 is not relevant. Like, it's not enough to matter, so I wasn't worried about it. But every card in the deck besides 1-for-1 truly overperformed. The MVPs of the day definitely would be the Fenrirs, the Bystials, and the Enemy Controllers for like cards I wasn't expecting to be as good as they were. These were the ones I was mainly testing. I had multiple mirror matches where game 1 they'd go to do like the Jet Synchron line, and I just magnamoted the Jet Synchron, and then they suddenly had a Savage that was worthless. Or I would get rid of the eyepiece, and then they couldn't do the standard IP setup. There was also an interesting moment where one of the games I summoned Magnamut, and I searched Flamberge, and then just started throwing fires into the grave so I could make Nightmare Phoenix, discard the Flamberge, pop a back row, and then Flamberge would special summon too. So that was really cool. That's just something to consider as well. Like having that additional flexibility is really cool in how you're approaching the games. For the extra deck, I played one Barone. That is the only synchro I played. I think that Jet Synchron it's a myth in that it doesn't actually resolve as much as you want it to. With so many hand traps being thrown back and forth, and with so many non-engine cards in the format, getting to resolve Jet Synchron and summon a Savage and a Formula Synchron is just asking too much, and I'd rather just use those utility spots for something else, and I never once missed it. Having the Barone in there for your level 3 tuners, or like if you normal summon a Veiler and you have Flamberge and Random Fire out, was more than enough. It only came up a few times, but I just wanted to have it in there just in case. It's kind of like in Cash, how you would play Baron, like just in case, you know, they shut down everything else. And you're like, well, I guess I have an Ash Blossom plus a Fenrir, so I'll do that. There was a few games where I ended up like Baron, Fenrir, and then that was just enough. Link Rebo, SP, IP. I don't think SP actually came up, which is really funny because, you know, there was a recent time where SP was coming up all the time for everybody, but it never really happened for me. Phoenix, Hida, and Dark. It's pretty normal. And then I played Sunlight Wolf and Heat Soul. I think that the value that these two cards offer to the deck is much higher than the synchros, in that, again, if you're going into hand trap wars, seeing anything that can stick is going to be good. So being a card like Heat Soul, which also can get you to more hand traps, is very good. And also just being another fire, like having 2 throwaway fires if you need, is really quite nice. The Sunlight Wolf being a throwaway fire is huge because sometimes you'd have to throw away your Phoenix in weird lines. But now you can just throw away your Sunlight Wolf and be fine, and even potentially bring it back with Promethean Princess if you have a Link Rebo out, and then just randomly get a Heat Soul. That came up once where I used Sunlight Wolf as a throwaway, brought back my Link Rebo, brought back the Sunlight Wolf, and then went into Heat Soul under the Princess and drew a card, and I had a 28 and a 27 for no reason. Speaking of Princess, you've got Princess, and then Celine. Access Code. I am a very big fan of this card in the deck. I know a lot of people don't have room for it, which is unfortunate. The card I was considering playing instead of Access Code was Underworld Goddess, but I think Access Code was just too good. It leads to too many OTKs. And again, like, your deck just has so many big monsters when you're playing the additional big monsters that it just, like, a 43 to 5300 attack point Access Code is often enough. Appaloosa, Raging Phoenix, and Zelantis. This card should be banned. Honestly, Zelantis is just not a healthy card. One of my mirror matches yesterday, my opponent, and when you see my side deck, it'll make more sense, but they used Crossout Designator, because I used Lightning Storm in their back row. They used Crossout Designator calling Snake Eye Ash to prevent me from being able to go off with that, and they died. I just Zelantis educated them without Ash, so that was pretty disgusting. Then the side deck, this is where the deck, I think, this is what sets the deck apart, is the side deck. It's very different. So I side 1 Bestial, just 1 Baldrake, just so I have a 3rd Bestial. This is just for Voiceless Voice, and I guess the branded matchup, because Gimmick Puppet is a horrible card to deal with. But other than that, I don't think Baldrake ever comes in. 2 Pancratops. This card overperformed quite a bit, actually. I was very surprised by how good Pancratops was. The idea behind this was it's 2 more copies of Fenrir, in that the main thing that Fenrir has going for it is that it answers Floodgates like Summon Limit, but it also answers Floodgates like Anti-Spell, which I think gain equity because everybody is expecting to play around Summon Limit, and so they're learning how to play around Summon Limit, and they're also citing cards like Lightning Storm and Duster. So then if you switch over to Anti-Spell, then you just punish them for doing that, and then they lose games that way. But I am playing 5 cards here that answer both of those. And also, again, going with that you have to answer it type of a play, I now have 5 more. I have 5 summons that you have to answer going second. Also, it came up multiple times where I would go summon Fenrir, and they would go, okay. And I would just special summon Pancratops because they'd have more monsters than me. And now I have these 2 giant monsters on the field that are just like incredibly threatening. This was very good. It just provided a ton of pressure. without having to do a lot, because all of my side deck is for going second. I do not side a single card for going first. So you'll notice that there's just a lot of like trying to put pressure on the opponent type cards. I sided 3 Dark Ruler No More, just for Voiceless Voice. Never came up. And then the rest of the side deck, I sided 3 Thrust. Again, trying to abuse the prevalence of hand traps and negation effects. With everybody playing their Snake Eye deck to beat, like various hand traps and play around them and stuff like that, having Thrust to continue to get you to your board, or to get you to more board breakers, is really important. It was really cool yesterday, actually. At one point, one of my opponents, I forced out one of their interactions to go into bear, and I activate bonfire. They negated, and I go, okay, and I thrusted for another bonfire. That was pretty heartbreaking, and I also did that with Triple Tactics Talent, because you can only activate them and then negate the activation, obviously. Thrust really overperformed. Again, when I'm going into games 2 and 3, I am choosing to go second because all I'm playing is board breakers. So I literally sided out of all of my hand traps except Mourner and Imperm usually, and I would just take out whatever other cards I felt were underperforming. Sometimes it'd be Econ, sometimes it would be the Mourners and Imperms themselves as well. There were many games where I sided out of hand traps entirely, because between the 9 standard hand traps and then the 2 Mourners, that's 11 cards right there. So you can side in the majority of your side deck just taking out hand traps. And then they'd go first and they'd set up their field and they're trying to play around, whatever. They're trying to be careful, and then they just die. Because if you're playing around the hand traps, you're not doing the most powerful board you obviously potentially could. And then I go, and you don't have as powerful of a board as you could, so I only have to play through a little bit, and I can just rip that apart. And between the Fenrirs, the Pankratops, the D-Bellstars, those alone are just massive monsters. And if I've board wiped you, I can just attack for game. And a lot of my games came down to me just going Fenrir, Pankratops type of a thing, setting up a little bit of a board, and then just attacking for game. Then I played 1 Duster and 2 Lightning Storms. These were very good. There was an argument for playing a single copy of Evenly Matched as well. I wanted that for Lab and other more back row oriented decks, but I figured that this would be enough because I'd had 6 copies, and it was alright. I played 1 Sinful Spoils of Subversion Snake Eye. This card was okay. It came up once or twice. I just wanted to have a card that going second I could search up a D-Bellstar that was able to be a board breaker. And it was also just another way to, if I drew this or one of the other 2 Snake Eye spells, or the Sinful Spoil spells or whatever, I could then search one off of D-Bellstar and then search the other one off of the Poplar and have all 3 in rotation. And then, if I have this wanted and original in the grave, I can put this back, draw a card, and the next turn I can banish the original and still have my engine going. But yeah, this is probably the weakest card in my side deck overall. 1 Change of Heart, again, just to have as a thrust target and another way to help punish you when I'm going second, because between the Change of Heart, the 2 Econs, and the 3 Talents, I'm probably taking your stuff. I am most likely going to take some monsters from you. And then when you have those plus all the other non-engine cards, it's just very easy to rip apart their board. And then I sided 1 Call by the Grave. I only sided this in going second, except for 1 game where I sided it in going first, and it ended up coming up, which was really funny. I typically only wanted this going second because I felt like the hand traps that they had going into games 2 and 3, they'd side out a lot of cards for board breakers, so then the few hand traps I had were really valuable, and this would help. Also, I sided this in games 2 and 3 because I sided out of all of my hand traps, so the the negative impact of Call by the Grave just didn't exist for me. Like, I would hit an Ash, and that's fine because I don't play Ash anymore. Or I would hit Valor, and that's, again, fine. I don't play Valor. These were all just very good. So that was the deck idea. Was just like more of a board breaker style approach, without just going like pure board breakers and praying that it worked. Let me know what you think down below. Let me know if you have any questions or feedback. Thanks a ton, and have a wonderful day.